Hello. We're going to have a look at the alien code chart. Now, our purpose first is to understand how this chart is organized, and then we want to be able to identify alien statuses represented in the chart. So, let's look at the headers. From left to right, you'll see line items. Line items are just for identification purposes. They have no real purpose for identifying alien statuses. Next, you'll see qualified alien groups. You may recall that alien statuses are categorized as either qualified or unqualified. Later in the chart, you'll see that there is a separate section for unqualified aliens as well. The remaining columns on the chart all deal with arrival dates. The arrival date in the U.S. is a key component in identifying the status that an alien will meet. You will always have to pay attention to the arrival date for aliens. Now, let's look at the type of information that is contained under the header Qualified Aliens. Qualified aliens will have documentation of their alien status. The documents will have codes that identify the status. The chart breaks down the status by title and by code. On the documents presented by the individual, you should look for the codes. For example, I-151 or I-327. Once you've identified the code, then look for the date of arrival. For purposes of this demonstration, let's focus on line item B, permanent resident aliens who have worked 40 qualifying quarters. Now, don't worry about determining the 40 qualifying quarters just yet. We'll cover that later in your training. Notice that if the individual arrived before 8/22/96, the individual may be eligible for full benefits. However, if the individual arrived on or after 8/22/96 and is within the first 5 years of his stay in the U.S., he may be eligible only for emergency services. If the individual arrived on or after 8/22/96 and has been in the U.S. for longer than 5 years, he may be eligible for full coverage. So you can see how the date of entry and the length of stay may affect a qualified alien. Now, beginning with line item D, you can see that there are some aliens who arrived on or after 8/22/96 where there is a slightly different requirement for their length of stay. For example, consider the conditional entrant discussed on line item D. If the individual arrived before 8/11/96, he may be eligible for full benefits. Now, here's the change. If the individual arrived on or after 8/22/96 and is within his first 7 years of residence in the U.S., he may be eligible for only emergency services. If the individual has been in the U.S. for greater than 7 years, he will still only be eligible for emergency services. So again, you can see how the arrival date and length of stay affect the coverage available to aliens. Now let's turn our attention to unqualified aliens. Notice that date of arrival is also a consideration for certain unqualified aliens. But the most important fact you should note about unqualified aliens is that regardless of the unqualified alien status, regardless of their date of arrival or their length of stay in the U.S., the unqualified alien can only be eligible for emergency services. Certain unqualified aliens will be in the U.S. in an approved documented status. Their status will still have to be verified based on the documents they present. But note also that certain non-qualified aliens meet the group of non-documented aliens referred to in policy as illegal aliens, and as such, illegal aliens may also be eligible for emergency services. Thank you for joining me for this brief discussion on the Medicaid Alien Code chart. I hope the information contained in this video is helpful, but please remember that you don't have to know all of the information in the Medicaid code chart. You just need to know how to use the chart itself. Now it's time for you to go back to Module 4 of your online training. Thank you again.